Hey guys, I'm gonna be reacting to like a number of videos today. And then I plan to obviously upload them, but they're all gonna be based on like the Elden Ring DLC. Um, I waited to react to these because I wasn't sure if I'd get spoiled or like wasn't sure if I'd be able to relate or have a full opinion about the DLC until after I beat it. So we're gonna start reacting and get into it.
About Elden Ring. Only 61% are positive? That's crazy. So people are mad? Yeah, but like, are they mad because of that, or are they mad for other shit, right? Are they mad because, like, I don't know, they didn't get an item, or there wasn't something in the game that they wanted to be in the game? Well, let me look and see. Just a sec. I had to do cocaine so I could be ready to do my stream today. That's what I was doing. Anyway, so yeah, what's the rest of this? Recommended? Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, I'm so glad I haven't killed myself. That's nice, right? Jumped off a cliff to escape an enemy, landed in a boss arena instead. Yep, there you go. What are the negative ones? People are saying negative reviews, fundamental design, exacerbates, encounter design, why people railed on Lords of the Fallen DLC from software, place enemies in nooks and corners with the sole purpose of trying to cheese you or knock you off an edge. Is it...
Okay, so no, they haven't. I wouldn't say they took it to the extreme. I mean, at all. Like, there's definitely areas in the DLC where there's like enemies that will push you off, or um, like they wanted to change. I don't know how the devs feel or whatnot, but obviously it seemed like Miyazaki wanted everyone to be able to play the DLC and feel like they're playing something new, right? And that like people who have had like $5,000 in Souls games, like it'd be a challenge for them because obviously the game's been out for 2 years, and you can't. There's people who have put thousands of hours into Elden Ring since the game released, modded and unmodded. And obviously, people don't have characters that are over like maxed out, or, like max level, or they've gone through the game 100+ times. Like those people are gonna be so like leveled, and like it makes sense why the bosses are so hard, and like it also pushes people to actually, you know, use a mechanic in the DLC of the scatter tree fragments. I mean, you don't have to use them. I mean, I would imagine there's some people are like, I'm not using them to make the DLC easier, and then they complained about it being too hard because they didn't want to participate in the simplest of game design in Elden Ring.
Really that much worse than the DLC? I guess, but like, so because you had the little cocksuckers in the caves, right? The little fucking you know, like those little dick suckers, they always did that. That was the case in the whole game. Like that's not new. Now, is there a little bit of it in Elden Ring? There is. Is it annoying? I don't know. Like, I can see what this person, like, it reminds me of Dark Souls 2, but it wasn't that annoying in my opinion, right? Like, I see what he's saying, though. I definitely do. So, yeah, that's a classic Poison Swamp. Yeah, exactly. Has this always been present? Yeah. There's a lot more of it, though. I think, you want to know what I think this person's real problem is the fact that those mobs kill you in 2 hits. Because, like, if the mobs, like, because the base Elden Ring NPCs were really weak. So, like, obviously it's going to be easy to deal with that. Because, oh, they attack you from behind. Yeah, but it doesn't do any damage, right? So, like, it's not a big deal. But, like, now, whenever it kills you, and it's, like, you know, you're, like, 5 levels down into a cave that has, like, 3 different points to it, like, then I think that's what the difference is going to be, right? Not mobs, but bosses, actually 2 hits and dead. Some mobs will 2-hit you as well. Character.
I don't think that's bad though. Like, I don't have any real issues of like I hardly really died from mobs. I died more from bosses. I mean, I can't really think of a mob that killed me a bunch besides the um Manus guys from the Abyss Woods, and I was just dying because I couldn't time the parry right. I probably would have died a lot more if I didn't know I could parry. But I stumbled upon a YouTube short on accident, and I was too tired to scroll past, and I saw somebody parry one of those guys. After playing some of the DLC, I really started this project. No, they picked a good spot where the DLC was going to exist. Confusion points where you might reach the end of a legacy dungeon, go through several tricky enemies, open a secret quarter, and see a shiny only to realize that's a... Well, the reason why they put so many upgrade materials in it is because all the new weapons that you were getting. It's really dumb that you're complaining about that, because it's not completely useless, because you're getting new weapons. So of course they're gonna give you more crafting materials. It's like saying like, oh, they gave me a new weapon, but I don't have any like materials to use to upgrade it, you know, or like I don't have the runes to buy the smithing stones from the twin husks to upgrade this new weapon. It makes so much sense why they did it that way, and it's kind of dumb that people complain about it. Most boss room, you might another drop. A class and easily explain was basically what you get for. I really, this person dumb.
Character and
Okay.
world scaling DLC from software. I have an idea the game's DLC is going to exist. Legacy dungeon, tricky enemies, secret corridor, secret weapon you can get. Yeah, I might enter mine. Yeah, I'm not really sure about that. The player scaling is confusing. The base game would be too.
Max out. Yeah, that makes sense. No, the bosses were meant to be difficult. And the bosses in the base game, they had plenty of times where they two-hit you if you weren't leveled properly. But the fact that the DLC it released so late, and also they wanted to like change the system where you just don't just like steamroll through or like power level through, is good. It's not bad. And like, I don't know, the scatter through fragments was a good design. I really like the Sekiro feel of it. And like, it adds a new discovery thing, you know, like an upgrade thing that you have to like find. Pushing you to explore more in the DLC. There's nothing wrong with that.
Too easy, and they put an upgrade system where most discoverable items boost your absorption. Creates really confusing feedback loop. If I'm struggling to damage enemies, is it my weapon? Should I be leveling? Have I not have enough DLC upgrades? I don't know about that. Bosses might be my greatest disappointment. Getting 2-shot with full defensive investment and 2k HP is not an exaggeration. These bosses do not mess around, more than just damage. Their design is
Clearly, they focused on the bosses being more skill-based than just trying to tank them. They didn't want you to sit there and just tank the bosses. That's not what they really wanted. At least it didn't feel that way. I didn't have too much trouble with bosses. I mean, there's some bosses that fucking hit hard and kept going. But like I don't know. It wasn't bad at all. I really enjoyed the bosses.
Frustration. Yeah, so like this is kind of like, this is the way that I felt about it, but I think there's a big difference between like me and this person. So like the really big difference about this is that I don't consider this like, so for example, whenever I stopped playing yesterday, if you asked me, do I think the game is good, I would say the answer is yes. So, like, for me, like, I don't think the game is bad because it's hard. So, like, basically, like, you have good and bad difficulty, right? Now, I do, like, to be fair...
The difficulty of the DLC is good.
I don't...
I really think the difficulty of the DLC is good. The bosses are good. The damage that they do is good. Because I don't want to get, like... And, like, it really pushed my skill ability and, like, my build ability. Like, changing... Like, I ended up changing my build near the end of my playthrough. I went more shield, and I still using the same weapon. I just added a shield and put more emphasis on tanking attacks with the shield than I was with anything else. And then I got rid of like my slight faith build that I had going. And I went full dex and strength and endurance and like whatnot. So it was like not bad. And like I was able to take down Radon doing that, and like I used my mimic here. I went through the whole DLC without using the mimic here until that boss fight. Until Radon. And honestly I only really used it just so I could like have a sense of having what is it? Radon having an enemy to focus on, so I could just take a breather to heal. That was mostly it. And like my mimic tier wasn't doing enough damage for it to really do anything to Radon. Like there was no significant damage. It was still mostly me. But like I really like the the boss design of the DLC is really good. Like the difficulty of it isn't bad. Like it's not bad, and I really enjoyed it. There wasn't a point where I was like, man, I need a like. There were points where I was like, I need to take a breather. I need to go like use the bathroom or something, just so I can like refresh, so I can like go. Oh shit! Oh no! Oh no!
I don't consider this like, so for example, whenever I stopped playing yesterday...
Okay, I'm literally right there. Anyways, I just needed to go into that boss with a fresh look or something like that. It was more or less just like I need a refresh because I've been playing for like 2 hours and fighting mostly mobs and then going against the boss, and I just need a second to like get my brain in the right mindset for the boss, where like I know I'm gonna fail constantly, so I need to get that into my head, like I'm gonna fail and that's fine. Let's focus on learning what we can with the failures to be able to actually get lucky and actually kill the boss, you know, like get through.
If you asked me, do I think the game is good, I would say the answer is yes. So, like, for me, like, I don't think the game is bad because it's hard. So, like, basically, like, you have good and bad difficulty, right? Now, I do, like, to be fair, I don't like in games where you have, what do you call it? Where you have, like, multiple attack patterns that look basically the same, but they do something different. So, like, for example, like, Mesmer does the spear, 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 the swing, and then the spear. Like, there's, like, if you think about the amount of ways that he does the impale attack, there's, like, 5 of them, right? And
Yeah,
each one of them has a different
variation.
timing and planning. And so, I think that at a certain point, it can feel redundant.
Like that, he's not wrong there, but it's not the redundancy of it. It feels more like, it makes it feel like you can't get a hit in because you don't know what is a opening and what isn't. But like, that's when you kind of have to chance it. I mean, there's slight like patterns that you notice of like, this is what he will do based on your positioning and how you're acting. Like, Same thing with Radon. Like he'll do that like somersault slam, and like sometimes he'll you go to um capitalize on that, and he'll do a second. He'll like lift up like while you're mid swing and like hit you with the second slam. But sometimes he doesn't do it, and like that can cause like confusion. But like also a lot of the base game bosses do shit like that, and like it's not bad. It's literally just them adding variation to the attacks, because a lot of bosses in like Dark Souls, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, they all had very predictable attack patterns where like if you've seen all the attacks and like you lived long enough to see all the attacks, you can like dodge them all based on knowing that. Granted, Dark Souls 2 was a lot more gimmicky, so
and frustrating to learn that, if that makes sense. Skill
it's not-
issue.
I don't really think it's
I don't
frustrating.
understand, like, what does that mean? Like, so if somebody isn't good at the game, they can't have any opinion about the game? Well, I'm just talking about, like, this is the learning process, and this is how I enjoy the learning process. Like, I feel like the learning process isn't as enjoyable when you have to memorize 3 or 5 different versions of the same attack that does basically the same thing that does different.
I saw some people saying that learning should be fun. The DLC is fun. Learning the fights is fun. And you're just not having fun because you're dying and you rather steamroll all bosses because that's what you feel like you should be doing at soul level 700, maxed out, everything.
Different
It-
timing. Like,
no.
learning should be fun, right? And so, like,
It's fun.
that's the way that I feel about it. And so the game should have casual mode. People who love the game and want to finish it. Well, there are a lot of casual mode options. I'm just saying, like, with the bosses, I do think that they are like insanely aggressive, and I think
It's not a
also
bad
with
thing.
what do you call it? Do you think it's too much for the average player, though? Yeah, I do. I think it's too much. But that doesn't necessarily mean the game is bad. Like, for example, Counter-Strike, I think is pretty hard for an average player too, but it doesn't make the game bad, right? And so, are people really having a hard time? Sekiro clears this DLC difficulty-wise? I don't think so. I think Sekiro's a lot easier. Like, and this is coming from somebody who's played both games. Like, I think Sekiro's quite easier. Sekiro's easier? Yeah, that's what I think, right? I mean, again, it's gonna be it depends a lot on the build. Yeah, it does. I think Sekiro, like, I guarantee you there's gonna be builds in the DLC. And I don't want to give people a spoiler, but I did respect my character, and so hopefully one of those builds is going to be mine today. So I changed it to like something else I thought would maybe work, but we'll see what happens, right? So yeah, and the boss's poises are ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. And so
I don't think the poise of bosses were ridiculous in the DLC, because I was able to stun. I mean, it took in the base game like it took like 3 jump attacks to stun lock a boss. So it's kind of nice having it be like 7 or 8 jump attacks. And granted, like the boss's health pool is a lot larger in the DLC than like the main game, and that's part of the reason why the poise is so high, I feel like. But it wasn't bad. It felt rewarding to be able to capitalize on it. I will say I wish there was. I don't know. I mean, they do have a way to upgrade your damage with the scatter tree fragments. But I wish there was like a potential like weapon upgrade system in the DLC that was different than the main game. But I understand why they didn't, because getting stuff maxed out, you know, like weapon wise, was they added so many weapons, so being able to upgrade them all, it'd be kind of sucky to have like a limited supply of like say Shadow Tree, like Shadow Dragon Scales or something, that or Shadow Smithing Stones you use to like upgrade your weapons past a specific tier or like add more damage to it. Like if they had a shadow smith, like if they had like a round table hold, but like something different based for the DLC, like potentially like a shadow hold or like a shadow fort. I don't know, something. Um, and there was like a way to upgrade your damage a bit further using that on top of the scattered tree fragment. That'd be kind of nice. Um, but also I feel like the way they handled the upgrade system and whatnot is still pretty good. And I feel like a lot of people's problems when they went into the DLC, they didn't start a fresh character and get to the point for the DLC. They used characters that were already in like New Game Plus 7 or any range from New Game Plus to New Game Plus 7 or more than that. And they were having a lot more difficulty because the bosses health would like triple what they were and the damage they were doing was even more. So like I feel like some people kind of fucked themselves over doing that. I purposely created a new character and went through the game again because I knew trying to go through the DLC on a new game plus was gonna be a lot more difficult. Um, and I didn't want that to be my first experience with the DLC. Because I feel like it would double the time it would take for me to get through it. Granted, I wouldn't try and rush to it, but I feel like everything the DLC did was validated, like valid and like not bad at all. Like there wasn't anything that I had issues with in the DLC that wasn't directly correlated to my skill ability being like not good enough, for the fact that I just didn't learn the boss yet, and that was like the big issue. Um, and like it was nice to hit Radon and it had a stone wall. Like the final boss of the DLC was a stone like wall of a boss where I felt like the first time I went against Melania and I had to like respec my build like multiple times to get like a feel of like what was going to work. Um I did that with Melania a bunch. I respec everywhere and then I went through the rest of the game with a different build than what I did when I first started it. Um Granted, this time around I kind of kept to like my build. I just added and like tweaked a little bit, so it wasn't like a massive rebuild effort or like undertaking for changing my build.
Sekiro Rage Quit stream? Yeah, for me, I don't really like I don't. So basically, like if you think of like I guess like difficulty, right, on like a scale of like 1 to 10, I don't have fun doing 1 to 3, and I also don't have fun doing 10 and sometimes even 9. But I really have fun inside of that 4 to 8 period, right? Like that's really fun for me. But whenever I play a game that's like really, really challenging, where I have to like super lock in and focus, I stop really enjoying myself because I play video games to relax, and whenever I have to do that, I'm not relaxed. I'm tensed up, I'm stressed, I'm like hyper focused, and I don't want to be like that. It's stressful for me. It feels exhausting, right? And so but like again, this isn't a criticism on the game. And this is the point that I'm making, right? Is that I think that there's like two separate things where like you can look at boss design and you can look at difficulty. And I think that some bosses are designed very badly, but they're very easy, right? Whereas in other cases, there are bosses that are designed very well, but they're extremely hard. Like Ishin from Sekiro, I think is like a perfect fucking fight, right? And so, yeah. Are you gonna level up more? Oh, maybe a bit. Because you can't handle the difficulty personally. I love watching people play. Yeah, exactly. You bet the game expects you to play the base game, remember everything up to the point. The problem is the DLC released 2 years later. No, I don't think that's the issue. Yeah, I played DLC for 3 hours, quit the DLC, returned to the base game because it was more fun and enjoyable. Like, seriously, not joking. Yeah, I can see why a lot of people would do that. I mean, to be fair, like, the game... like, I've never played a game that's, like, more punishing and harder than, like, this DLC. Like, maybe some of the bosses in Lies of P. I'm trying to think about it more. But, like, it's really, really hard. So
Somebody said Dark Souls 2. It's not Dark Souls 2 level difficulty. Dark Souls 2 level difficulty was janky as fuck. Like, bosses were janky. You were janky. Dark Souls 2, the difficulty around that was just jankiness. And also being gangbanged by groups of enemies. That's all it was. But with the DLC, it's based on just like you have to upgrade your scatter fragments so you can tank a little bit more damage. And like, really, if you're having an issue with mobs hitting you, don't get hit. Use a shield. Jump around, roll around, you know? Like, there's ways around it. And like, it sucks to get caught in like a combo and just get demolished. But like, also feels really good to like be able to handle it all. And like I said, I hardly died from mobs. Really, I mostly died from bosses. I think the boss that gave me the most trouble wasn't even Mesmer or Radon. It was the fucking Gravebird. Oh, that Gravebird hooked me, man. And Gaius. Gaius fucked me up. But that was just because he was massively aggressive. And I was having a hard time fully dodging through his charge. And like every time I healed, he was already in my face. That was the only issue I had with Gaius, but like that wasn't even bad. Like it made sense. He's not a fucking hog, and the fact that you can summon Torrent. Granted, Torrent isn't faster than Gaius, so like you're going to get hit off Torrent, but like it gives you a minute to like ride past like right away for a second to heal, or like to have a bit more movement speed while healing. But I just stayed off Torrent and did like face to face. And granted, it would be easier if I used the summon, but I chose not to. That's my own prerogative. I chose not to summon as much as possible because I wanted to learn bosses. I wanted to have that failure. Because I knew I would steamroll the boss if I used the summon. Which is fine. It's not a bad thing at all. The game's built around summons. Strangely enough, the Souls games are built around co-op. I don't know if anybody noticed. Literally, the reason why the guy Miyazaki made Demon Souls was because of somebody helping him in real life with something and just like leaving, and like that kind of brought in the whole like co-op feel of it, and like the summoning and whatnot. Just that interaction of having a stranger help you out with like a difficult area, a difficult boss, and like just piecing out, you know, and without really learning the name or anything. That was like a big driving force. So, like summoning is like a core aspect of Elden Ring. A lot of people just rather do a challenge run without summons. I mean, I essentially did a challenge run of the DLC, went through with 99% of it without using the summon. And I feel like if I would beat Radon without summons, it would just take me like a couple more tries than it did. It didn't really change the outcome. I was going to beat Radon, with or without a summon. But I don't know. I didn't find it unfun at any point. I really liked the DLC. The difficulty wasn't bad. The bosses weren't bad.
Well, to be fair, as soon as I saw that triple jump, it was not as hard as I thought it was, right? And so yeah, I beat the DLC, but I had to use magic. Well, that's fine. Shower's having a bit of time on trouble on Moog. He has no idea what awaits him in a DLC. Well, he didn't play the game originally, right? So like you've got to remember, like that's like that's his first playthrough, right? So yeah, and it's not a skill issue. It's poorly designed DLC. Cool looking or not, it's not enjoyable. Well, I think that again, like everybody is going to make that decision themselves. Do I think the boss's mechanics are well designed? Yes and no. Yes and no. And so, like, for example, every boss that was really big was horrible to fight. Like, for example, the hippo. I hated fighting the hippo. It was awful. And the reason why it was awful is, number one, like, all of his attacks are delayed. But that's not really, like, again, that's annoying, but that's not really why the boss, I think, is bad. I think the boss is bad because he's really big, and he pushes you into a corner all the time, just naturally, with, like, his movements. And you'll just naturally end up in a corner as well. So you end up having to avoid attacks that it's hard for you to read the attack because you can't see what's happening. And I think that, like, once a boss's size obscures your vision to be able to see what the boss is doing, it's bad. It's just that simple, right? Not naturally, right? And so that's what I don't like. Yeah, when you're in a corner and you die to the camera. Yeah, exactly. Now, if you had a light build and you rolled their attacks, well, of course you'd be right that if you rolled every single attack, you would not get hit by them. That is a correct statement. You're right about that. And so, why don't we play Elden Ring? Maybe. We'll see what happens, right? Yeah, maybe. And, he's so cool looking, but I never see him because the camera's inside of him. The camera should be far away. No, the problem actually isn't even the camera. The problem is the arena. So if you were able to,
yeah,
like, for example...
I feel the arena was a design choice. It'd be dumb to give every big boss, like, a massive arena. I guess as it's artificial difficulty forcing a player to fight a big opponent in a small arena. But it is a design choice ultimately. And, like, the arena wasn't necessarily small. It was just, like, kind of more rectangular. And so, like, it didn't give much side-to-side movement, but there was definitely a lot more front-to-back movement. So you could backpedal and then, like, rotate around. But the issue is, obviously, when you're getting attacked constantly, really hard to get that rotational movement around the boss that you would if, say, like, you had a big massive arena like Gaius. Like, a lot of my problem with Gaius was the initial fight where I would constantly get I would back roll into the back wall, like it's where the fog door was. Same thing with Radahn, but that was mostly because I wouldn't push far enough into the arena to begin with. And that was my problem. But once I was, like, in that middle state area, it gave me a lot of more movement room. And that was just... because, obviously, Radahn and Gaius both have an initial charge attack that occurs the moment you step in. That will negate the distance. Which is awesome, because it gets you straight into the fight. It feels like a fucking duel. You go in and you're like, let's go, motherfucker. And you go in and he's already on your fucking ass. And he's like, I'm killing you again for the 80th time. This is what's going to happen. You know? And that's awesome. That dueling aspect is awesome. And that's, like, a lot of it. And, like, a lot of the problem is skill-orientated. You know, then some people aren't as skilled as others, and so they might have a bit more of a difficult time. It's just, the design isn't bad. I wouldn't say, like, there's obviously some things, like, some bosses have, some AoEs that hit you, like, have a massive, like, box that is a bit too big. I feel like some attacks, like, spread around the whole length of the arena, and it feels like you can't really get out of it. And like with Radahn, the gravitational pull and then the, like, push that damages you. You can roll through it. There's a way out of it. It's just I was having difficulty timing it and finding, like, sometimes he'll do it super quickly, where you're trying to heal and then he'll suck you in, and then you get stuck into healing again. And like his like slammed down like that, where he's like slashes down, and like if you back roll you get damaged because of the AoE like gravel splintering that shoots up, you know. And that was my bad, because I was programmed, my brain is programmed to roll backwards to dodge attacks so I can make distance and I can heal, instead of just being hyper on it. I feel like this DLC is very Bloodborne orientated in terms of like the feel of it, of like you have to be hyper aggressive because the boss is hyper aggressive. Compared to Bloodborne, there isn't that area of healing that you gain from dealing damage. So you have to back up to heal, but you can't heal because you have to be hyper aggressive, as well as the boss is hyper aggressive. And so there's that like finding the moment of like I can backpedal to heal, or I can stay on his ass and heal in his fucking sack. You know, like there's a lot of it. I feel like the DLC is more locked in. Like you have to lock in for the DLC, which is fantastic. It's not a bad thing at all. And like going into the DLC, to get to 150, I had to beat the game to get to level 150. So obviously, like somebody comment, like the dude said in here that they felt like they didn't know where to put the DLC. I feel like they put it in a perfect spot in terms of stuff, because one, Moog is optional. You don't have to fight Moog. Now it isn't optional, but Moog was an optional fight, and Moog, I feel like, is super difficult compared to like some of the other bosses, because he's the only one that gives you the most fucking souls for beating him. Like runes gives you 400k, or a little over, or a little under 400k. I was able to level up 4 times off of Moog when I beat him at 150, or like 3 times. I don't remember, but like I leveled up quite a bit. So I feel like the timing of it, and like the difficulty, and like how a lot of the bosses feel. A lot of people say all the bosses are hyper aggressive, like Melania. Melania was the best fight of the base game, like one of the best fights. So it makes sense that FromSoft would take that mindset and apply it to the other bosses as well. And that,
like, let's say if you had an area to fight him in, like this, but you could see from like this direction, right? It would be fine. The problem is that the place that you fight him at, you get right up against the wall and you can't do anything. There's Zippo in the open world. He's 10x easier to kill than a tiny arena. Yeah, exactly. And so like, and here's like kind of an interesting way of looking at it, and this is the way that I see it, is that this isn't always true, but I think that it's mostly true, is that whenever a boss design and a boss's difficulty varies massively based off of where you fight it, I generally think that the difficulty factor isn't fun. So for example, if you can fight a boss and you can ask yourself, oh, well, if I could just walk away from this guy, or like get distance on him, it would be way easier, but I'm fighting him in this like really claustrophobic area, then I think generally it's bad. Walk away? Well, you can't really, because he's so big. People are gonna finish level 1 and one-shot everything. You just need to be prepared. You're not thinking about it. Start thinking about it. I understand that. That's not the point. People can speedrun ET on Atari. That doesn't make ET on Atari a good game. Just think about it. Like, I'm not asking people to, you know, like, you don't have to do rocket science here. Just apply some logic to the situation. Like the fire giant area? Yeah, exactly. Atari was groundbreaking. What was so groundbreaking? Well, you're right, because they had to, you know, dig out that big hole to put all the games in. You're right about that, McConnell. True. Capra Demon, Dark Souls 1. Yeah, exactly. Like, Capra Demon, I think, is... And generally, I don't like claustrophobic fights. And, I find claustrophobic fights to be unnecessarily stressful and unenjoyable. Now, obviously, that's my opinion, and so I'm not saying that, like, this is something that's, like, bad. So, like, for example, there's, like, a very big difference between, like, things that I don't like and things that I think are bad. Like, for example... Things that I don't like are claustrophobic fights. Things that I think are bad animations. Or, like, a bad camera. So, like, I think the hippo is a bad fight because of the bad camera. I think most of his attacks are relatively fair. Like that, a few of his, like, porcupine things are annoying, but other than that, it's fine. So, yeah. And hippo camera is fine, what the fuck? Oh, I'm talking about the one inside of the castle. I don't... Apparently there's an outdoor one that's a lot easier, but I'm not talking about that one. Yeah, camera's weird. So yeah, dancer camera's fun. What about infinite stamina bosses like Renala Moonlight? She doesn't have infinite stamina. That's not true. Like, there are two... Like, that's not the way the fight works. Yeah, I mean, that's it. Like, I thought that fight was totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that fight at all. If anything, I think that fight, like, I think she should have had more health. Like, maybe it was just my build, but the fact that I could kill her and only have to do one phase 2 mechanic, it shouldn't be like that. Like, that's not good. And so, yeah, like, it took me like 10, 15 attempts, something like that, yeah. But I thought that was fine. The hippo is easier than her, in my opinion. But, like, it's... see, this is the problem, is, like, it's so hard to have a conversation about difficulty in a video game, because everybody doesn't think about it from any perspective other than their own. I understand that
he's not
for
wrong
you...
with that, because, like...
I still think the DLC is a 10. I think the DLC... They remind me of Dark Souls 2 Dragonspire Knights. Huge HP. They eventually beat him in phase 2 mechanic. It shouldn't be like that.
Okay. So, like... He's not wrong about the difficulty thing. Like, everyone only really thinks about difficulty based on their perspective, which they wouldn't necessarily be wrong for, because obviously, like, it's difficulty is a very personal based, like, value. Like, one thing may be difficult for one person, one may be difficult for another. Or might not be difficult, you know, and like that goes for every aspect of like any game. So like even real life. But also, I mean, there's obviously some things that are inherently fair between both. Like in general, is like inherently fair. It's just a lot of times people. Some people who may not have had that difficulty doesn't really think of it as a difficulty, or it kind of goes under the radar. And like, he's not wrong about the camera angle being shit. I just don't think that. I just think it's more a skill related issue when it comes to like managing your character in a spot. And like, he's not wrong that it kind of, the boss kind of pushes you into a corner, like against the wall. Like, you just naturally end up against the wall. That's when you just go and like you get the fuck out of the wall. That's what I feel is the go-to answer. But a lot of people can't think in that regard, in that aspect, and that in that regard, he's right that it is an inherently artificial difficulty. Like, the hippo would be easier to fight in an open area. The previous ones in an open area were massively easy to deal with. But I feel like the hippo has such a small health pool. But granted, I did explore a majority of the map before I even fought the hippo. So I had quite a bit of scatter tree upgrades. And like, that could be part of the reason why I had less of a difficulty, because I spent more time exploring, because I knew that the DLC was going to be difficult, so I was like, I'm going to do what I can to make it less difficult by collecting the things that would make it generally kind of easier. And that was just how I went about it. Where some people probably went straight to one area, did that, kind of explored, went to the next. Ugh. Because when you're playing Elden Ring, you tend to get drawn more to the legacy dungeons because obviously the better content. Because it's like the open world content in Elden Ring is great, but also like the exploration of it is great. But there's also definitely the idea that what is it? The confined areas are good as well, even as great, especially depending on how you feel about the previous Souls games that are like custom built legacy dungeons. Essentially, like they're pretty linear. Like there's obviously some aspect of like shortcuts and things like that, and like the legacy dungeons play into that. And so obviously all the people who played the previous Souls games like that, and like the smaller confined areas, and it makes sense.
Like that's not good. And so yeah, I tried, yeah, like it took me like 10 15 attempts, something like that. Yeah. But I thought that was fine. The hippo is easier than her in my opinion. But like see, this is the problem, is like it's so hard to have a conversation about difficulty in a video game because everybody doesn't think about it from any perspective other than their own. I understand that for you.
Gotta take my sweatshirt off. I'm stuffy, and it's making breathing and like my body temperature like breathe properly. Killer. All right,
It's easy to do that fight, and like I beat the hippo pretty easily too. Like it was annoying, but like I eventually beat him, and like when I beat him, I beat the fuck out of him. I killed him in like less than like fucking a minute, right? So yeah, skill actually is an issue though. Well, the thing is that the way that a game punishes you for not being skilled does have to do with the enjoyable nature of the game. So for example, if being unskilled or not knowing the way a game works is extremely punishing to the point where it's not fun, then you can't really blame it on the player for saying, hey, I'm not having fun for this. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I feel like the DLC area is good, like in that aspect. Like even if you're unskilled, I feel like the DLC makes sense for like how do I word this? The DLC isn't unfun. The difficulty isn't unfun of the DLC. Learning the fights isn't unfun. Being punished for being unskilled in the DLC isn't unfun, because you should be skilled enough by the time you get to the DLC. Because by the time I got to the DLC, I was level 150. I just hit 150. And I beat all the game. For the majority, I mean, there's obviously some areas I didn't fully finish exploring, but there's like, and that was just because it's not super important that I do this because I didn't really need to. But like, by the time you actually get to the DLC, you should feel super comfortable with the game and the base mechanics to the point where you should be understanding enough, especially if you fought Milana and you fought Moog, obviously to get into the DLC. You should know that did I say Milana? Melania. You should know that like it will take a couple fucking tries, and learning that. And I would say if it's the fact that the boss can like 1 to 3 hit kill you is part of the unfun part, kind of makes sense. But also you should explore more. because if you haven't got all the scatter tree fragments, that's kind of like on you, or like a good majority of what you need to, make it through the boss fight. Granted, it helps, but it doesn't help massively. Because like you still have to be leveling. I feel like probably there's some people that weren't leveling. Uh, but like it's very at that point. By the time you get to the DLC, you should be skilled enough to at least be able to understand that you have to try at something for a long time, and you have to be persistent and persevere. And maybe you just mark it on the map and you come back to it later after you like think about, with other things, maybe get a refresh. I mean, I've had to do it. I came back and I steamrolled the boss, like I don't think it's unfun. I don't think any part of the DLC is unfun. I think all of it's fun. I didn't have that much of an issue with it, and that is my opinion. Everyone's gonna have a different opinion because there's tons of builds. And that plays a part into it too, is the amount of builds that you can have in Elden Ring. So some builds might have more difficulty than other builds, and that is okay. But yeah, I feel like the DLC is like relatively good design.
Sometimes it's yeah, a good example of annoying enemies in DLC. Does it remind me of Dark Souls 2 Dragonspire Knights? Huge HP pools, a lot of piece of shit and unfun. Yeah, I don't know. It's how they teach you. Yeah, exactly. And so, also depends on how overpowered you are. People are mad they're getting filtered by the game content made to be hard. Weird, I'm gonna blame the low skill players who won't change. I just like... I still think the DLC is a 10. I think the DLC is amazing. It's great. But for me, it's so hard that it's not fun. Does that make sense? Like, I think it's a 10 out of 10 game. It's amazing. But like, whenever the difficulty level is so high that I basically have to perform a choreographed dance to the point where I cannot make a mistake or I will die, I am no longer enjoying myself. I'm not having fun anymore.
Which is fair.
I'm just basically behaving and playing like a bot.
On your own, yeah.
That's the way that I feel. Now, obviously, other people might feel differently. And that's why I'm not saying the game's bad. But that's the way that I feel. I don't have fun doing that, playing games like that. Like, yeah, it's just it's not enjoyable. That's the way that I feel. There's an RPG aspect that comes in. It 100% gets easier with leveling and good builds. Yeah, maybe it does. I'm not really sure. But
yeah,
that's why I must develop a Souls game like Mental.
Very RPG based.
I mean, I don't know if it's obvious or not.
Like, obviously, like Elden Ring is the first step of stepping out of the like linear exploration of the previous Souls games, and it makes sense that some builds will be better than other builds. Like, there's going to be relatively meta builds and like meta ways to play, which is fine. And obviously, there's gonna be some people who want to play differently, and that's okay too. You just might have a bit more of a difficult time, and that's just kind of like how that goes with any RPG. Like, if mages are glass cannon, it happens. Especially in Elden Ring, when you're a mage, you can't make hardly as many mistakes as you could if you were a strength or dex user, because all your flasks are practically into your cerulean tiers, so you could re-up your MP, so you can continue doing damage. So it makes sense that you might die in one hit every time, or you can only get into the fight a little bit, make like one or two mistakes, because by the time you finish like making mistakes, all your flasks are gone, and you just got to phase 2 of a fight, or all your flasks are gone within the first few seconds of the fight because you made one mistake too early. And that's just how it goes. So, like, obviously, there's gonna be different builds that will just steamroll and some that won't. And that is part of the aspect, too.
Not, but I have a very bad mental. I do. I tilt way too easily.
Yeah.
I can't deal with like any stress or frustration.
As well. And, like, if you get too mad too easily, you're just gonna make more mistakes, and that's gonna make you more mad. And, like, I'm super chill. I'm a super chill guy. So, like, I kept fucking up and I kept making mistakes. And, like, granted, there was, like, some parts where I'm like, oh, no, I was right there. But, like, it didn't really affect me in a way where, like, I played worse. Well, if I got to a point where I felt like I was going to stop playing worse, I would go off and do something else. I'd go explore. I'd go fight a different boss. I'd go use the bathroom and come back. Or eat a snack. It's the aspect of, like, your mentality and, like, changing it. And if you get mad too easily, it's not you're creating artificial difficulty for yourself. You are the difficulty. You're the true reason behind difficulty because you get mad too easily. That's sometimes how it goes.
At all, right? Like, if you go back to my Dark Souls 1 streams, I immediately lose my cool. I will get mad in like a fraction of a second, and I can't get unmad. And you can see, if you watch the VODs, you will see the moment where I get frustrated, and I never emotionally recover from that for the entire rest of the stream. I never do, because I can't keep my cool. I can't do it, and I've been like this even whenever I was a little kid. I think that it's just gotten worse, to be honest. What ends up happening with me is that, like, and I think that this, like, streaming definitely makes it, like, way worse, right? Because it's like I play the game and I struggle at the game and everybody says that I'm a piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's almost like I can't lose because everybody is waiting to, like, hate me for losing. And, like, it makes it very unenjoyable. I feel like I can't learn games on stream because people are constantly calling me stupid or trying to, like, give me bad information or insulting me. And to be honest, I don't like dealing with that. I hate that. I don't like being insulted or berated or people being rude to me or anything like that. And so if that happens to me and I'm like, I ask myself, it does genuinely bother me. I really don't like it. And because of that, I can't really deal with that level of, like, frustration at all. I can't deal with it. I can't. And I've tried for years. And I've made negative progress, to be honest with you.
It makes sense, yeah.
Is being your head against the wall with a jumping attack because I get frustrated. Like, that's what I'm saying, is I can't turn that off in my head. I just get so frustrated and upset that I can't stop it. Seek a professional? No, I don't want to. Why? So you want me to, like, reorient my entire life and go to therapy because I get mad at a video game? No, I would just stop playing the game.
Yeah,
no, I'm not gonna, like, you know, take drugs or no. It's just a game. Yeah. You're joking? This isn't normal? Well, for me it is. And like I don't have like I don't have like like an off switch for, like, getting upset. Like, I will just get more and more and more mad. And I can't control that at all. And I think that playing games like this that are frustrating on stream brings out every negative aspect of my personality. Like, I'm insecure, I'm angry, I am like stubborn, like I'm not funny. Like, everything about it, hard game is stressful. It is, and I get really stressed out. I do. I get really stressed out, and I can't deal with it. And whether you say that's like me being bad or stupid or a loser or weak or anything, that doesn't change the reality that it's happening. and I can't make it stop.
He's not wrong for that.
Like, I've been doing this now, like, as I said before, I never, like, if I could go back, I would have never streamed Dark Souls. I would have never done it. Because I hate the way that makes me feel. What? No, yeah, I'm serious. Like, I genuinely hate the way it makes me feel. And so, I think now that I'm, like, older, the reason why I give up on things very quickly is because I know that it's going to take me down that path. And I know myself, and I know that I can't deal with it. And so, like, at a certain point, like, knowing yourself is important to where, why are you doing something that is going to stress you out or upset you? Like, what's the point of it? And so, what a pussy? Well, how am I being a pussy? I don't even understand this. And, like, this is the thing, is, like, I can't even... It's just, it's so unfun for me to stream when, like, I can't even learn or get better at a game without people just, like, insulting me and shitting on me constantly. It's like, I have to do it right on my first time, or I can't do it, like, or I'm bad. Like, it's just not fun for me. That's generally the way that I feel about it. Like, like, it makes me not want to stream. Like, if this is the way streaming was for me all the time, I wouldn't stream. You're so stubborn? I am. I don't like it. Straight up, like, I don't like it. And I don't, at this point, I don't think I'm ever, like, I'm not even going to try to stop being this way. I've tried it for 6 years, trying to, like, overcome it. Like, I was the same whenever I was a little kid with, like, video games, right? That's why there's holes in my wall. Because I would, like, throw the controller through the wall. This is what Hassan means whenever he says streaming can be hard. No, this is just, like, an issue with me, right? This has nothing to do really with streaming, it's just me. But, I mean, it's Twitch chat banter. I don't like that, though. I don't think you understand. Yeah, like, no, I don't like that.
It's not Twitch chat banter, because at a certain point, being told the same thing every fucking time, it becomes less banter and somewhat the truth, you know? Or, like, it becomes a perceived truth. If someone constantly fucking calls you a loser every single day, multiple times a day, you don't stop thinking you're a fucking loser. That's how it goes. Somebody calls you fat consistently over time, you don't feel like you're fucking fat. You're like, man, am I fat? It's like the same thing as a kid. You know, you grow up, your parent consistently potentially shits on you about maybe a certain thing. Like for me, my mom used to shit on me all the time for playing games. Pretty much just calling me a no-life. To the point where if anyone makes a comment about how I'm wasting my life not playing a game, it fucks me up. And I have to stop playing. I don't feel comfortable playing games anymore. The moment I hear something like that, like, I don't know, it sets off something in my brain and it fucks me up. And I'm like, I can't even get into playing games now. I have to stop. I need to step away because my brain just fucks up all my emotions. So, like, and like the fact that, like, he has what, 20k people watch him at any given point. Having 20k people just tell you you're shit, or you're telling you you're doing it wrong, or you don't know how to play, that's fucking crazy. It's fucking stupid. So, like, it's understand why he wants to stop playing the DLC. There's nothing wrong with that. In terms of, like, nothing wrong with the fact that he feels like he needs to stop playing the DLC because of the people that are watching it. And granted, you could say, turn off chat. But if he goes, you just don't see clips, it's going to be all over his Reddit or his Twitter, and he's going to be tagged consistently. Like, it just don't follow him. It's not like somebody comes and turn chat off and enjoy. That won't work. He would have to, like, do that and then, like, turn off his social media permanently. It's kind of backward. I feel like Soulsborne games is good content in the fact that there is stuff to enjoy out of that, but also like the content of getting mad, but somebody getting mad because of a game is enjoyable to watch. But it's only enjoyable to watch when everyone else is enjoying it with you and isn't like dragging on the person getting mad over it, you know? Otherwise it just becomes like fucking bullying. It becomes just psychotic with how people treat other people on the internet. Even if you call it banter, it's not banter if that's 20,000 people telling that to you. What the fuck? What is wrong with people? You know, in that regard. It's only banter when it's you and one other person. When it's you and a buddy playing games and you're just bantering back and forth like, oh, you suck. You know, like, what are you doing? But like when you're like, again, you got like 20k people telling you suck, what are you doing? It's a completely different thing. And especially if you're already getting frustrated with a boss, and then just to have everyone ragging on you and not even being like supportive, it fucks up your mindset. You can't get into it, and it makes sense why he feels the way he does.
I don't.
That.
I don't like being treated. I don't like people talking to me that way at all. Like, and also, I don't think it is banter. Like with other streamers, I think that it's okay that, like, you know, they're like joking around. I have a lot of people that like genuinely fucking hate me, and they just like are just super negative and hostile to me. It's not funny to me, and I don't like it. Just straight up, like I don't like being treated this way at all. Like that's just really the way I feel. And so, hate watchers, yeah, exactly. What about you insulting small streamers on your show the other day? Well, that's part of the show. You go on the show for that. I didn't insult them. I gave them feedback. Yeah. And you're probably going to need to evolve your mental for streaming. Due to bigger you get, your bigger problems get stuff. No, I don't need to. Because this is a problem that only happens whenever I play video games. Like, I never have this problem whenever I'm just talking or doing other stuff. Like, I never have this issue at all. It's only inside of this one individual, like, tiny little slice of a problem. And then everything else, it's never an issue. Like, I never have this issue, like, just never play video games. I think that I actually think I'm going to tone down a lot of, like, me playing games, yeah. I think I am. Because I've had so many situations where I just get so mad. And I feel, like, really upset and like just really anxious and stressed out, and like this doesn't even have to do with chat. It's just the way that like it makes me feel, and it just really it feels really upsetting, and like I get really stressed out, and I don't like it. And so it's like, why am I doing something that I like? Where's the upside, right? What am I doing this for? So yeah, such a low vibe today. Cheer up. Yeah, no, I'm being honest, guys. I'm being honest because I hardly ever tell people like the way that I feel about this, but like I have like crazy, like really bad anxiety, and anytime that I kind of lose control of something or things aren't going the way that I want to, that anxiety goes like I like goes through the roof. Like I can't deal with it, and so I just can't. And so, like, if anything happens where I feel like I'm losing control or, like, things aren't going the way I want them to, or I'm out of my comfort zone, I totally fucking freak out. And I think it's gotten worse over the years because, like, the amount of, like, responsibilities and obligations I've had over the years have just gotten more and more and more. And, like, at the point now where, like, I can't take a break from streaming, I can't just ignore people anymore. I'm in a position where, like, I can't, like, kind of recover at all, mentally, emotionally. And so I'm just like constantly under this pressure, and I can't deal with it. And like whenever I have like the like a game is like frustrating me at that point, that just takes me over the edge. Like
Yeah,
I
makes
can't do it.
sense.
Like I'm
I mean,
over the quota.
He started a bunch of shit.
When I take a break
He's
though,
in a
I
bunch
can't.
of shit now. It's really hard
I can't
for
take
him
a
to
break.
step away.
I have people that rely on me, people that need me to do things, like a lot of people. I can't just take a break. And so you can see how, like, having to deal with this kind of stuff is, I just don't like it. I don't want to do it. Yeah, like, I don't want to do it. It's not enjoyable. So, like, whenever I have, like, a situation where I'm in, like, a stress situation, I have to get out of it. I cannot deal with any extra stress. So, that's the way that I feel. Not to be smart, to put yourself in a position and tides up. You have to find a good way to get through it and listen to yourself. Well, the way I get through it is that I don't put myself into stressful situations normally. And ironically, exercise 2 times a week. No, I don't want anybody's advice on like what to do or how to handle this stuff. Like, no, I just don't want to deal with it. Like, that's literally it. No, people are so obnoxious how good or bad someone is at a video game. Yeah, I really like it. Just, I know it sounds stupid, but I can't handle it. Yeah, like I don't want to deal with it. I can't handle it. And like it's been the second day, and I don't want to do it. This stuff tilts me too. Yeah, I can't untilt.
Which is fair.
I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I mean, I can't be a robot. I think with almost everything else, I can. Basically, I can deal with almost anything else, but this I just can't deal with. Because it's just the way that I feel. So, yeah. If people have like negative things, once I'm triggered, I'm done. Yeah, I'm unironically triggered. I got really mad. And I can't stop it. So, I just want you guys to understand that. People try on purpose to get your reaction, fuck them. I think people are kind of surprised at your response because you're making fun of journalists for days saying it's too hard. But those people are retarded. I'm making fun of journalists for saying it's too hard because they said the game is bad. That's the difference. I never said that you're not allowed to be bad at the game. I never said that. I said if you're bad at the game, you shouldn't be saying the game is bad. And if these people don't know what they're doing and they don't know how to play the game, they shouldn't be writing a review about the game saying it's bad.
Yeah.
Did 100%. I say the
100%.
game was bad? No. I said the camera on a few bosses was bad for fucking sure. No, I think it's a 10 out of 10 game. It's a great game. It's just too hard for me to enjoy it. Would it be different if you weren't streaming it? It would not be as bad. Whenever I'm not streaming, it's still bad. Like, I've been like this. It has nothing to do with your skill. It's just the game is hard. Well, it has everything to do with my skill. If I was better, if I was the best player at the game, then I wouldn't have this problem. Obviously, it has to do with me being good. But it's frustrating and stressful that I have to be that good, and I don't enjoy it. Does that make sense? Aren't you maybe overwhelmed by Mesmer's fight? Yeah, I get overwhelmed and, like, I get sensory overload really easily. You just suck then? Yeah, I'm really not that great at video games.
Asmongold is
I'm
an average
really
guy, an
bad,
average
to be
player.
honest. I think I am. I'm not good. Like, I'm kind of mediocre. And like I don't want to go and like try to like force myself to play a game. Like, yeah, it's like I don't really have like a drive to do it, really. I just don't want to deal with it. Some people are good at games. Yeah, I mean, I'm just not. I don't know what you want me to say. Yeah. I mean, I don't want anybody to think that like I think I'm like some great, amazing player. I'm probably above average, right? Sure, I'm above average. I mean, but like, I mean, for the amount of time that I play games, I should be way better than I am. Like, if anybody else put the same amount of time into a game that I did, they would be better than I am. Like, I'm good at planning, and I'm good at, like, kind of figuring out strategies, but I'm not good, like, individually at, like, being able to, like, dodge and react to things. But either way, like, I just can't handle losing and, like, that frustration of it on stream. I just can't do it.
Which is fair.
And I promise you that every time that I go into a game like this, it will happen. And it's at the point where, like, now, like, I actually dread whenever new games come out sometimes because I just feel like I'm gonna get stuck and get mad. And I know it's gonna happen. And I try not to go into that with that attitude because I feel like it's sometimes self-fulfilling prophecy. But I just can't stop it whenever it happens. I just can't. I can't. I get so mad, it's insane. It's unironically bad content. Yeah, like, I think that, like, for some streamers, it's, like, good to watch them get mad. I don't think that... I don't think it's entertaining to watch me get mad because, like, I get really upset to the point to where it's, like, unsettling. And so, yeah. It's just annoying. Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to do it anymore. But, yeah, that's basically it. So as I'm naturally bad at video games, yeah, I'm just not. Like, isn't just games?
He's just average.
Well, if it isn't just games, bro, like...
That's just how it goes.
How do you know it isn't just games? All you do is you sit here and you watch me on my stream. You don't know what I'm doing in my real life. You don't know anything about me. You don't know me. What are you doing trying to tell me that? It's so weird.
It is weird.
But yeah, I just want to let you guys know that I really don't like that kind of stuff. It does genuinely bother me. I do get kind of like insecure and bothered by it a lot. And if people treat me that way, I just don't want to deal with it. I'm not really that good at games. I don't like putting that out on display because it just makes me feel stupid. And I don't think I'm ever going to be good at games, really. Like, I don't think that I have, like, the drive to push myself to do it, and also, I don't think I have, like, the mechanical dexterity. I just don't, because, like, my hands are very shaky, and I'm an extremely high-strung person. Like, super, super high-strung. And so, like, for me, like, I'm always on edge all the time, basically. And so, like, whenever I play a game like this, it makes it, like, even worse.
Which is understandable.
So yeah, I don't like. I don't want to deal with like any degree of
something like
hostility or frustration or anything like that.
It to the top.
I hate the ego with counting deaths. I just have I have like a huge mental problem with dealing with it, and I don't want to. Like, you have to think about it from my perspective. Is that wouldn't it be better for me that if whenever I played a video game, I could just learn and play the game normally without having an autistic meltdown? Wouldn't that be better for me? It would be, right? So I keep trying. I keep trying. I keep trying. And every time, the same thing happens. And it's exhausting, man. It's so exhausting, and I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of doing the same thing. Why don't you work on it? I've worked on it for years.
Yeah, telling somebody to do something like that, like, just work on it, like...
At what point do you just give up?
People should be able to give up if they want
like,
to.
I'm 33. What am I doing? Never? So then I just spend my entire life getting mad? And being upset and frustrated? Why would I do that? It doesn't even make sense. I know it's like kind of like a weird, Ask what's the trigger? The trigger is losing control and sensory overload and not knowing what's going on. Like that's what it is. It's like the losing control and like not being able to like know what's happening. And so like, cause I have the same thing happen like in situations similar to that in real life. Do you handle it better now than as a child? No, I handle it basically about the same or the worse. I sort of see it from your point, but I trust you. Yeah, I mean, I don't really like, I don't need people to really see my point of view. I think that, like, at the end of the day, most people, like, this isn't really going to change anybody's mind. If people think that I'm a piece of shit they're still going to think that.
Yeah, that's
It's
just
not like this is gonna be like, oh, wait a minute, no, it's actually bothering them. I'm not gonna think this anymore. They're gonna still think the exact same thing.
No, if anything, it's just gonna feel them to
I just
be
wanted to let
worse.
everybody that, like, you know, like people that are actually watching and trying to, like, you know, be positive. I'll give it another shot today, because I usually try to give it like 2 tries before I give up, because I know myself, right? And maybe try and adapt a little bit, do a few different things, but then otherwise, I'm pretty much just done, right? And I think that this is like more of a collective thing, is that I'm done playing games that are like really hard on stream. Like, I don't want to do that anymore. It's only brought me unhappiness. Like, I've never been happy doing that ever.
Which is fair.
And I don't want to do it anymore. So, like, any game that's like very challenging or like hard to the point to where like I get to this way, I just don't want to play it anymore.
Which is fine.
I just don't. Like, I don't have the mental and emotional energy to do it anymore.
Especially like,
that's it.
When people are adding to it. It's good that he's aware and he plans to like take action against it for the most part, like by like trying to keep himself out of that situation. Good for him. I'm happy for that. Happy for him about that. But overall, this is a good video. I like it. Obviously, Asmongold. When don't I like an Asmongold video? But yeah, no. I feel like some people are just, I don't know, all over the place in terms of like why they dislike the DLC and why they um um why they can't handle it and whatnot. I feel like a lot of it is just people being bad at the game and just kind of like taking that out on the game itself by saying the DLC is bad. I feel like it could be better, and like obviously the whole Asmongold bit of it on the other end is sad to see that he's having such a hard time, especially with Chatters being the main driving force of that. And I mean, like, granted, he part of it is that he has a hard time like learning, and like everyone has a learning, like a different learning speed, so um that's fine. Um But other than that, thank you guys for watching. I will catch you guys in the next video or stream. But anyways, doodles for now. And yeah.